That's
and he
Wichita
drives
lineman.
the main roads.
Yes, he does.
Searching in the clouds for another overload.
Beautiful.
Harry. The great John McMullen.
That was Jimmy Webb, I think, wrote that song.
I told
right?
you heard it.
Yeah.
Glenn Campbell and I sang it together on the air. I guarantee you John McMullen's never done that. John, how are you, buddy?
I'm doing well. I also know about shutting things down. I know a lot about that as well.
Exactly right.
What is your go-to karaoke song?
My go-to karaoke song. I got to think about that. How about a little My Way, a little Sinatra?
Now you shut the bar down when you do that at the end of the night,
Now, do you don a fedora when you go sing that? Or
You got to.
Yeah.
You got to.
He didn't lease a
Chairman of the
Catera,
board,
though. Remember that. I leased a Catera once. Remember when the Cadillac had the Catera? And the whole campaign was to lease one, and you lease a Catera? And I knew Lisa Catera.
Lisa Catera, yeah.
That's a common name.
I would give almost anything to see John McMullen sing karaoke.
I know.
All right, we'll do it in a live.
We'll do it live.
Show.
I'm actually visualizing it right now.
We'll do it live. I'll write it. All right, John, I saw your tweet earlier this morning. I hope you didn't take offense to my response when you posted the Eagles statement on the Deshaun Jackson comments.
I took immense offense, and I'm banning you, shutting you down, Tony Bruno. No, I didn't
I've been shut down many times in the past.
Whatsoever.
Robin shut me down this weekend in Maryland, for God's sake. All right, John. Obviously, nobody's saying what he said was okay. But the thing about my point of this is, I'm not one to call for people's heads. I'm not saying he should be banned from the league, cut immediately. But there is a lot of outrage, and the Eagles did what they had to do, is release a statement. And the thing about this to me that makes it hard to understand is that this isn't some shoot-off-the-hip tweet or something that you say in jest or even you think is jest. Somebody had to sit down, copy, and paste alleged Hitler quotes, which he didn't say but were in a book, and then find a video of Louis Farrakhan blaming Dr. Fauci and the co-founder of Microsoft,
Bill Gates,
for coming up with a vaccine that's going to eliminate people on the planet. I mean, that's going a little far to put an Instagram tweet together, isn't it?
Yeah, to say the least. I'm still trying to figure out what the hell Deshaun was trying to get across. So that was the first thought. Obviously, then Joe Banner kind of took off with it and exploded from there. And understandably so. I mean, Joe's Jewish, and anybody who is upset by that, you can certainly understand why. But from Deshaun's perspective, I think it's ignorance, and I think there's this assumption, and I've written about this a lot over the years, that celebrities, athletes have this moral authority to talk about really, really layered issues, and I don't know where that comes from. I don't know why people expect it. And, it's not to say you can't. Someone like Malcolm Jenkins spends a ton of time learning about things, speaks in front of Congress, speaks in front of local governments, local officials. He's got a real passion for it. It came across to me as ignorance more than hatred. And now I can't prove that because Sean is not answering any of our queries at this point. And obviously, he's caught up with his agent and talking to the Eagles and having this back and forth. But I say it all the time on this show. Get off social media, man.
Yeah.
Get off.
And it wasn't even like it wasn't something that was top of mind. It wasn't like he was talking about the Black Lives Matter protests or police brutality. He just went off on a whole
different tangent.
Tangent that, like, of all the things you can think of to tweet or put on Instagram, that's what you come up with?
Yeah, and it was so weird because it seemed to me he didn't forget about Hitler. I mean, it's astonishing that anyone wouldn't know that you should probably steer clear of that. And by the way, those are not even actual quotes.
Right.
But, if you look at Louis Farrakhan, it seemed like he didn't have the full understanding of who he is and his reputation and his history and his anti-Semitic remarks. So it was almost like he fumbled across Farrakhan, heard something he liked, maybe out of context, and said, wow, this guy's not bad. But I don't know if that's what happened. But it sure seemed like he didn't have any information on who the guy is or was or what he's done.
Follow John on Twitter at JF McMullen. Now, John, what did you make of the part of the Eagles' statement where they say, we are continuing to evaluate the circumstances and will take appropriate action?
Yeah, they left it open-ended. I think, I always joke, when ESPN turns into CNN or Fox Sports turns into Fox News, that's when you know you got a problem. So we'll see where this goes as far as shelf life, as far as the news cycle. And if the CNNs of the world and the Fox Newses and the MSNBCs and they push and pick up on this, becomes a bigger problem. And, you know, there's also the cynical part of it, and this is big as well. If the Eagles can get back the money they owe him, you know what? He's going to be gone next year anyway. Mm-hmm. Maybe avoid the public relations hurdle and say, let's get to the young receivers a little bit quicker.
Yeah, but you know that they need him, and obviously, and Harry made a great point earlier when we were talking about it at the beginning of the show today, John. I mentioned the Riley Cooper thing. I think Jeffrey Lurie has the Riley Cooper card to play because Riley Cooper could have been cut after the idiotic thing that he did at the concert.
He was expendable.
Yeah, he was very expendable. At the concert, of course, Kenny Chesney was drunk with a bunch of friends. They wanted to get up on stage, and there was a security guard who was African-American, for those who don't remember the story, and he started yelling at this guy using racial epithets, and then that was caught on tape and was put out there, and everybody wanted him gone, and then they calmed that down. But Harry made the point, the reason it calmed down was not just because they punished him and sent him to Florida to get away. Michael Vick. Michael Vick sat in the locker room and said, no, we want to keep him around. Is that something that will happen here? Harry said, if Carson Wentz goes and gets the locker room together, would they listen to him if he speaks out and says, we've got to give Deshaun Jackson another chance? Or is it up to the Jewish community and the anger that's being expressed today by many members, not only in the media, but of anybody in the Jewish community?
Yeah, well, I think if outside the building, so to speak, pushes it far enough, I think it becomes untenable. And yeah, I mean, you see cancel culture, and I never agree with it, right? And I'm not going to agree with it for Deshaun Jackson as well. But inside the building, yeah, I'm glad Harry brought that up because people lose the context of that. The Eagles were going to cut Riley Cooper. They were gone to release him. Mm-hmm. And Michael Vick talked them out of it, essentially. And then, as you know, years he actually got an extension after everything blew over and never lived up to that extension as well. But so people putting that together and saying, well, they didn't cut Riley Cooper, there was a lot of context added into that. So, and by the way, even though it was only whatever it was, 2013, I forget, but it doesn't seem like a long time ago. But you've lived through the past month. You see how everyone is now. It is ultra sensitive now. It's different now. And you have to factor that in as well.
You know, I use the term selective morality, and I've been using it for decades. So it's not just new in the cancel culture. That's the world we live in right now. You could be somebody who does something heinous, and if the crowd, if the woke crowd and the media that wants everything canceled doesn't come after you, you get a pass. If they do come after you and destroy you, then there's nothing you can do. And the Drew Brees is being brought up by a lot of people. How many times did he have to apologize for something that a lot of people didn't think was incendiary, but apparently was to others?
Yeah, I think they're completely different categories. I mean, I don't think Drew brought up Hitler. Correct me if I'm wrong. So I think there's a slight difference from that standpoint. But yeah, I mean, Drew should have never apologized, should have never been forced to apologize, to be honest. It's not that you can't have a difference of opinion. Everyone can.
No, you can't. What are you talking about, John? You know you can't.
Well, exactly.
Conform.
That's where we are. And that's the point.
Conform or
Deshaun
canceled.
Jackson. So when you talk about Deshaun from a football standpoint, yeah, he's the only proven receiver on this team because Alshon Jeffrey's not going to be healthy. Who knows when? So from that standpoint, you say, okay, yeah, they're going to keep him. And maybe in a typical year, you're correct. But I think if things go in a negative direction from that cancel culture, the Eagles, it might force the Eagles' hand. And the second part of it, the cynical part, always in the NFL, and this is where things haven't changed. If this was the 53rd guy on the roster, he would have already been gone.
Absolutely. No doubt about it. And you're right. The fact that they need him, and Carson Wentz needs him to stretch the field, which we saw in his one appearance last year in the first game, it's obvious. You're absolutely right. The fact that this guy is an important part of this team this coming season, unless there isn't a season. Yeah. Say there isn't a season.
That's part of it, too.
No, say there isn't a season. Then what happens?
Yeah, think about all the things added into. We don't even know if we're going to have a season. The NFL, the NFLPA can't get together on anything. We're 3 weeks away. They can't agree on lunch. Never mind protocols. They can't agree on preseason games. Nothing. And they only got 3 weeks to figure that out. Then you got the spike in testing. Everybody's panicking. Everybody thinks it's the end of the world from that standpoint. So you have the PR hurdle. And then you have Deshaun's 33 years old, and how many games is he going to play in a best-case scenario anyway? And as I said, they have an out, even though he's under contract. After this season, if it does go off, you would think at 34 years old, coming back in 2021, you have Jalen Reagor. He's not going to be back anyway.
Well, if there isn't a season, will Patrick Mahomes be able to survive on his signing bonus money, John? What'd you think of that deal?
Yeah, I love it because we got a new term. The NFL is great. The NFL agents are great because they make up things. It used to be years ago, used to be guaranteed money. Then it became fully guaranteed money. And now we have guaranteed mechanism.
Mechanism? Mechanism's a new word?
Yeah, well, it's not a new word. It's a new phrase.
Well, I know it's not a new word.
I didn't know if you knew, Tony.
Come on, John. You think I'm that dumb?
So, when people compare it and say it's the biggest contract, no, Mike Trout has a better contract because Mike Trout is guaranteed $26 million. But Patrick Mahomes, I mean, if he continues to play at the level he's playing at, I got news for you. 5 years into this contract, they're going to redo it.
Yep.
He's going to get more money.
Right, because all the dead money's gone.
Yeah, if he gets hurt, and, they have all these roster bonuses that essentially are put in there for both sides. The Chiefs will have to decide early in March, do we want to pay this huge number? And if he gets banged up or things go in a horrible direction, they can just move on. So it's never what it seems to be, but what it is the largest contract in NFL history, and deservedly so for the best quarterback in football.
Now, of course, there's a lot of great tweets. DeAndre Hopkins, 5 minutes ago, tweeted, 24 reasons why Mahomes deserves that. 0 doubts he will win more Super Bowls. So he puts up the score of Houston 24, Kansas City nothing in that game, and then he obviously gives him love, and everybody's giving him love. Even Travis Kelce, did you see the video of all the guys carrying in the equipment into the tunnel at Arrowhead Stadium, and they're bringing in his money? There's a lot of great comments and videos on this contract. And, we met the kid before he was drafted at the Super Bowl.
Oh, he's great.
Talk about a great family structure. His dad was a pitcher. We know the story. His mom was great, and we even talked to Pete Sweeney in Kansas City there, and he said that this girlfriend who's been with him since high school, she's obviously going to be looking for a nice rock pretty soon, don't you think?
I would think so. She won the lottery as well, so that's part of it. But it's interesting. That game was, what was the Houston game? 24-0.
24-0.
Once Kansas City scored that first touchdown, that's the first time in my life I'm looking at a 24-7 game saying, this game's over.
Houston's not going to win. I know. I felt the same way, John. Now, how does this, if at all, affect things with Dak Prescott?
Well, it affects in the fact that, and this is, something the Cowboys have had an issue with historically, is they wait too long. And you only get in trouble when you wait. You generally, the smart organizations in this league, they target their foundational players early and try to get contracts done early because the history of this league is the price tag's only going up. So it's already gone up for Dak Prescott. He's not going to be in Patrick Mahomes' league. He's by himself
right.
now. But when you talk about Deshaun Watson as well, those guys are getting a little bit more money today than they were yesterday.
No, you're right, and Carson Wentz. There was a lot of conversation about his deal, which they got done.
That's team friendly now. That's 13 months ago.
Yep.
Wow.
When the Eagles gave Carson Wentz the most guaranteed money in the history of pro football, and everybody said, "Really?" And now it's team friendly.
Time to tear it up and get a new deal, John.
I need a team-friendly deal here on these shows that I'm doing now. I need a much more team. I don't need a team-friendly. I need a Tony-friendly deal.
Yeah, we need to tear your deal up and do it again.
Right. I may do it live on the air.
Right.
I may torch it right here.
We'll do it live.
We'll do it live. I'll set the entire studio on fire. How about that?
Hey, John, well, now the other thing that happened and caught more fire over the weekend is the firestorm down with the football team in Washington.
Yes.
And their nickname.
Now, you can say Redskins.
I'm going to say Redskins.
I know. I'm just because that's what everybody else is doing. Now they're just calling them the team in D.C.
I'm not.
or
I'm calling
Washington
the Redskins
football
until they're
team.
not the Redskins.
What do you think this really now is the tipping point, and they end up having to change the name? I know Ron Rivera, I think, is working with the owner.
Even FedEx doesn't want to have it to do with.
Well, he's a part owner. I didn't even know that guy was a part owner.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, listen, we've been to FedEx. No one wants to be associated with that stadium.
No. Well, they want a new stadium, and that's part of this whole thing about changing the name.
Yes.
Worst road trip of the year,
Yeah.
FedEx Field. But I think it's done. I think and that's where we are. We talked about it with Sean. I mean, it's a different culture, and you're swimming upstream. So I not only think it's going to be changed, I think it's going to be changed for this season. I think it's going to be that quick, and it happens that quickly. But yeah, I think I said it on the show last week before. You guys went on, what were you on vacation for like 3 weeks?
We took off 2 days.
3 weeks. I'd love 3 weeks right now.
From a media standpoint, I mean, how do you tell the story of the Washington Redskins changing their name without saying their name? It doesn't make any sense to me.
I agree. John, so let me ask you again. It's a new week. Will we have a football season this year? Because every day, depending on which media writer you like who wants everything shut down, will we have a football season?
Well, it's getting worse, I will say that. I mean, J.C. Treader, he writes his column. He's the president of the NFLPA. He writes a column on the website, which essentially gives an update to the players. But, these guys can't agree on anything. And I mentioned the preseason, all the protocols coming up, all the changes. We're 3 weeks away. Ultimately, I think that part of it gets together. But I think the bigger hurdle is the PR hurdle, and people are fearful. And they don't understand that positive tests, a lot of positive tests. The NFL expects players to test positive. They expect that. But I don't think the average fan expects that. And so when it does happen, and you've seen it in other sports, everybody panics. And they could be asymptomatic. They could not be sick at all.
Well, how about the interesting thing with the MLS team, the Dallas club, the FC Dallas? They're supposed to start tomorrow, right? Down in Orlando in the bubble. The MLS, what is it called? The reboot, whatever they're calling it.
It's a tournament.
MLS's back tournament. They had 10 players test positive on FC Dallas, and they pulled out of the tournament. And the reigning champion of the league from the LA Football Club, Carlos Vela, has opted out. He was the MLS MVP because of family complications. So it's every sport that's getting involved, except golf. They had a scare 2 weeks ago, but now all of a sudden, you notice, nobody's bailing. Nobody's pulled out of any tournaments recently.
Yeah.
You just keep testing.
I think you're going to see opt-outs. I think you're going to see. I think it's going to get ugly. I don't know if we're going to start and finish on time, but I will say everything changes second week of November.
Yeah, election.
And it doesn't matter who wins.
Yeah.
Everything restarts. Mark it down. Mark it. Chew it up.
Is it a stone-cold, guaranteed lead pipe lock, John?
Yes, sir. You got the audio.
I think I read that somewhere in the Philly Voice column by one J.F. McMullen.
Was that a recent
go.
column?
Yes.
Was that today?
Over the weekend I read that.
Yeah.
When did you write that one, John, then locked it in?
I believe that was the Thursday column of last week.
Oh, that's when we mailed it in and said to hell with it for the rest of the weekend, John. I apologize.
Now,
Understandable.
Rothstein, who you do the Extending the Play podcast with on a weekly basis, has an idea here with involving the Twitch stream and your radio appearances on this show.
Yeah, so first I want to apologize to John for this idea, but the idea is we get the Twitch stream to have some fun and have appropriate questions like the one that Harry asked you to start the interview. What's your go-to karaoke song? So the Twitch stream is creative. They come up with 5 to 10 questions, and we just do a rapid fire, have some fun with Johnny Mac.
Now, do you pick the questions, you or Robin, because you're monitoring the Twitch stream?
We can work out the logistics, but they're going to be coming across the screen. Somebody can pick one out.
Well, the question is, who do I trust more to edit this?
Yeah.
Would it be Robin or Ryan? I don't think it would be Robin to edit.
I don't think it would be me either. So.
Yeah, I don't see this going well for him. So
No, it won't. That's why it's going to be great.
I already have audio from the Twitch stream for it.
We have tape?
All right, here's one. What's his favorite yacht rock song from TMCD 215?
That's a good one. I got to think about that. Maybe is Pina Colada, is that a yacht rock?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
That song has jumped the shark, though, man.
Yeah, but that's a yacht rock
Yeah,
favorite.
it is. They
though.
play it like every hour, though. I love yacht rock, but they have like the same 50 songs, and they just play them over and over again.
Oh,
And then sometimes they play the same B-side, which is like a horrible B-side song.
They play Rupert Murdoch's non-hits. There was another, what was it called, the telephone song or something?
It's so bad.
Oh, man, that's the worst song ever recorded. How do you play that?
Well, how do you play Rupert Murdoch's hits?
Yeah.
How many are there?
Well, no, Pina Colada song, but then the
Yeah,
follow-up,
exactly.
even Joe
Rupert
C.
Murdoch started Fox News.
Yeah, that's Rupert Murdoch. You're right. That's what happened to him. He went to hell, too.
I mean, Rupert Murdoch has other hits. Everyone's just forgotten.
No, it's
except
Rupert Holmes.
Rupert
Yes,
Holmes.
now he's got me saying that.
Rupert Murdoch. He's got a number of hits.
Rupert Murdoch, yeah, he was more of a cult figure on the music scene, not a hit
No,
maker.
Rupert Holmes.
They're usually the
Jesus.
sexual harassment kind, I think, Rupert Murdoch.
Exactly right.
Well, like Rupert Holmes wrote, what is it, Timothy for? See, he wrote songs for other people too. That's 'cause he had hits on his own, but wrote hits for people as well. So,
Exactly right. He was a multi-talented guy with one hit. He's still a one-hit wonder.
well, I thought he had charting hits after that. They've all just kind of been forgotten. Kind of like "Passion" by Rod Stewart. No one knows that song, and it was a top 5 hit.
Oh, I
Yeah.
know Passion by Rod Stewart.
So that Pina Colada song is actually called Escape.
Escape.
Yeah, I
that's
didn't
right.
even know that.
Yes. It's a cheating song.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you got to, I mean, you're limiting yourself by going only yacht rock. They, as you mentioned, they only play 50 songs on a loop.
Mm-hmm.
I'll tell you one song that we hadn't had a chance to play, and we should coming out here, John. Because we lost the great Charlie Daniels over the weekend.
Oh,
Harry.
really?
Charlie, you didn't know Charlie Daniels died, Harry?
I was playing golf.
How
man.
do you not know Charlie Daniels died?
I wasn't on Twitter.
Are
I
you
couldn't
serious?
care
You don't
less
have to
about
be
the
on Twitter.
news.
You have to be on planet Earth to
I
not know
never
this.
knew, and I
We
feel good about it.
We lost 2 big ones. Charlie Daniels
And Ennio Morricone is dead.
Ennio Morricone.
You know who he is, right? 91 years old. He came up with all the great songs like The Good, the Bad, and
Yeah,
the Ugly. All
the
those great
Eastwood movies,
Yeah,
the spaghetti westerns. Yeah, yeah.
Also he also did the music that they use in the Modelo commercials, which is also from The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. That's great knowledge right there. You're not getting
That's
this on any
good
other sports show.
spaghetti western knowledge, right
Yeah.
Yes, it is. You know why they call them spaghetti westerns? That was racist, by the way.
Because they were filmed in Italy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're like
Yeah.
saying only Italians have spaghetti.
Well, now we got to cancel them, too.
Let's cancel spaghetti westerns.
The Tarantino movie with Brad Pitt and